Light bulb. Thomas Edison was an aspiring inventor who had an insatiable appetite for discovery. From childhood, he was hungry for knowledge, driven by a restless impulse and sometimes even impulsive experiments that shocked his family. Though often lacking in resources, he carried a craving to change the world, a longing that grew stronger with every setback. He would often aspire to greatness while others doubted him, yet he remained inclined to test ideas that seemed impossible. In his workshop, he was consumed with ambition, acting on impulse whenever inspiration struck. He set his sights on inventing a safe electric light, and though failure caused desperation, his urge to succeed only deepened. Friends advised him to go without sleep, but Edison ignored their warnings, driven by his yearning for success. His endless impatience with darkness made him cry out for a solution, and he would often itch for another trial. He knew the world had a thirst for progress, and in his heart he carried the desire to meet that need. At last, after years of experiments, he produced the desired invention, the glowing light bulb. Scientists who once mocked him were now green with envy, and his name became the envy of somebody in every corner of the scientific world. He confessed he had always longed for this moment, and with history watching, people could only keep their fingers crossed as his light first shone. Edison, the would-be dreamer who turned into the world's brightest innovator, proved that even a man with a weakness for relentless experiments could change humanity forever. And though stern in work, he always had a soft spot for those who, like him, yearned to dream. Alternating current. Nikola Tesla, an aspiring inventor, always had a possessive approach toward his ideas, which fueled his appetite for innovation. He would chase new concepts relentlessly, and he often craved knowledge that others overlooked. In moments of desperation, Tesla felt hungry for breakthroughs that could change the world, and sometimes he acted on an impulse to test daring experiments. His impulsive nature was balanced by a strong inclination to understand the unseen forces of electricity. Tesla was naturally inclined toward alternating currents, although many of his peers doubted him. His impatience often grew, yet he could never suppress the thirst for discovery. He felt a strong urge to innovate and would yearn for recognition, but he kept working quietly. Even when lacking resources, he continued to long for an electrical system that could transmit power efficiently. His longing for knowledge made him pursue ideas that were considered impossible by others. At times, be the envy of somebody in the field of electricity. The Wright brothers were aspiring engineers who had a possessive interest in flight, which fueled their appetite for discovery. They would chase every clue about aerodynamics, and they craved to conquer the sky. In times of desperation, they felt hungry for a breakthrough, sometimes acting on an impulse to test risky designs. Their impulsive experiments were guided by a natural inclination to understand wind and lift. They were inclined to tinker tirelessly with wings, even when others doubted them. Their impatience with slow progress only increased their thirst for invention. They felt an urge to achieve controlled flight and would yearn for their machines to soar successfully. Even when lacking funding, they continued to long for a practical flying device. Their longing for human flight inspired many prototypes, and at times they followed a whim that led to crucial discoveries. Their desire to invent something revolutionary kept them awake through countless nights. The Wright brothers aspired to create a flying machine and set their sights on something beyond what anyone had imagined. They often cried out for something that could carry a human safely through the air. Some pioneers had a soft spot for them, while competitors were green with envy at their success. They wanted people to go without something conventional and instead embrace aviation, a technology everyone would itch to experience. In the end, the world would be disposed to celebrate their achievement, and historians continue to cross their fingers in awe, showing that they became the ones to be the envy of somebody in the field of flight. Apple product. Steve Jobs, an aspiring entrepreneur, had a possessive passion for technology, which fueled his appetite for innovation. He would chase the latest ideas in computing and crave to create products that could change the world. In moments of desperation, he felt hungry for a breakthrough, sometimes acting on an impulse to prototype daring concepts. His impulsive decisions were often guided by a strong inclination to perfection. Jobs was naturally inclined to blend design with functionality, although many doubted his vision. His impatience with slow development fueled his thirst for revolutionary products. He felt an urge to innovate and would yearn to make technology intuitive for everyone. Even when lacking resources, he continued to long for devices that would redefine computing. His longing for elegance and simplicity inspired the creation of the Macintosh, iPhone, and iPad. At times, he followed a whim that led to groundbreaking designs, and his desire to delight users was unparalleled. Jobs aspired to change the world and set his sights on something unprecedented in technology. He often cried out for something that merged art and engineering seamlessly. Some colleagues had a soft spot for him, while competitors were green with envy at his visionary ideas. Jobs wanted people to go without something cumbersome and instead embrace products everyone would itch to use. In the end, the world would be disposed to admire his genius, and history continues to cross their fingers at his foresight, proving he became the one to be the envy of somebody in the tech industry.